Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast, The Money Cure. I'm your host, Sean Grant. So happy to be here. So excited to share some truth with you about money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. All right. So, yes. So happy, so excited, so thrilled that we can get into something that will literally change your concept and relationship with money today after you listen to this podcast. That's what is going to transpire, and I guarantee it because I've done it in my own life and I can feel it. I can feel the effects of it. And look, man, I just got off another podcast and I am all about truth. And this whole thing about money comes down to you realizing the truth of what it really is and what it can do for you, right? And so in being able to do that, you free yourself from all these blockages, hindrances, resistance, obstacles. You free yourself, right? So with that being said, let's get right into it. So if you go back a couple of episodes, we talked about the idea about money is not real, money is a phantom, and all this other wonderful stuff. And just to kind of piggyback on that real quick before we get into what we're getting into, all that comes down to is you got to look at money as an energy, right? You got to look at money as an energy, because if you can look at it as an energy, what you discover is that it's everywhere, right? It is everywhere. It is not a space where money isn't, because if money is energy, energy is God. God is everywhere. God is everything. So you have to see it that way. The only time we ever get into issues is when we start putting limitations around how money can manifest and how it should show up and who it needs to show up from. And the only reason that happens is it comes from a limited perspective. It comes from the logical mind as opposed to the conscious blended with the superconscious and the subconscious mind. Which come together, which bring about a number of infinite opportunities. Okay, so before I go any further, what I want to get into, here's why you have to be unlimited. Here's why you have to know what your authentic self is, who your authentic self is. You have to be aware of this, and here's why. When you connect to the God inside of you, the goddess, the all that is, the universe, whatever you want to call it, when you connect to that aspect of you that is you, here's what happens. By going infinite, by going eternal, by going unlimited, all of a sudden you go from a limited perspective on life, a limited way of doing things, to an infinite way of doing things. And so the perfect example is to understand that the divine, the infinite, the eternal, the God in you, the goddess, the all that is, can see every single aspect of the multiverse, not just the universe, but the multiverse, from every possible angle and perspective, right? So what does that mean? For example, I could be sitting in this chair. I can only see, let's say, from about maybe 6 to 10 perspectives. The universe can see it from infinite. So what does that mean? You take that and you translate that with money. That means you should start licking your lips and rubbing your fingers together, because guess what? The universe can see from an infinite perspective of how money can flow into your life. And here's the kicker, guys. It does not come from hard-ass work, selling your soul to the devil you call your boss, or being in a place or a position where you feel like you got to go kill somebody or rob a bank to get the kind of money you want. Throw all of that out the window. The basis of this episode alone is to show you that conditions do not exist unless you say so, right? They don't exist unless you say so. And so what do I mean by that? Well, let's say you grew up in a house with baby boomers, because that's the generation before the millennials in my generation. And those are people who were kids of individuals who went through the Depression. So you know what they believe in? Get a job, get a safe paycheck, make sure money is always coming in, even if you don't like it, and work that job for 30 years. That's usually the beliefs. I just saw a picture of beliefs. That's usually the belief of the people of that generation. Why? Because their parents went through such a depression and it looked like money would never show up, but it's because they didn't understand the principles that allow wealth to flow in. So all they do is pass down faulty information, faulty wisdom. That does not help anybody. That makes people miserable and makes them lose their power. And my objective is to not fight against that, but to help you to rise above it, right? So the idea is getting rid of those conditions. So guess what? If you had baby boomer parents, here's what you need to do. All the stuff that they told you, get rid of it. Let it go, right? Unless it's really, really insightful and really, really helpful, and you'll know this because you'll feel it. Anything else, get rid of that shit because it's not going to help you. It's only going to hinder you. And here's how. Let's say that you just have a desire. Like I've had at times a desire just to prosper. I just want money to be able to help individuals, to create opportunities for myself to help individuals, and that's my desire, right? But my desire for that could not come because I had a condition or hang up that said I could only manifest money unless I worked really hard. So guess what? You remember the secret? You remember the genie? Your wish is my command. And right there, the universe says, well, I can't give you money because this is what you believe. You know, we love you, but we have to work under the law. And that's what the universe does. It works under the law. So the law states, be it unto you as you believe, as Jesus said, which means that, you know what? If that's what you believe, that's what has to happen. This is why so many people struggle and are tired and are frustrated and can't really do much of anything because they give their souls away to beliefs. How can you give your soul away to a belief that doesn't serve you, right? I want you to get it out of your head right now. Money is not this thing you have to work hard for. Money is not this thing you have to sell yourself for. Like you don't have to give away your entire life force to have it flow into your life. You just have to be open and receptive to it. And how do you do that? You do that by making light of it, first and foremost. Don't be so hard pressed to get it all. But more importantly, you connect to your source and you realize the source owns it all anyway, right? Source owns it all anyway. And so you might be asking, well, how do I know this is going to work? Well, shit, nobody knows that anything is going to work, but you know what you do? You basically trust. You have faith. And I'm speaking from somebody who has had faith for years at a time, and it works, it works, it works, it works. And I'm telling you, it works in the very best way possible. Imagine, I created this little, what is it called? Alliteration or something like that, to this little rap that, you know, money come, money flow, money comes to my front door, money come, money flow, money comes to my front door, you know. So you get the idea. But I started singing that song. And sure enough, money shows up into my account. Money shows up into my mailbox. Money shows up in my hands from a friend or from, you know, a job I worked before. Like, it's so simple. It almost seems stupid in a way that something you've believed for so long is not the right way to do something, right? And so when we understand that, the first thing we do is we take a step back and we say, okay, how do we get rid of this resistance? How do we say, all right, resistance, fuck you. I'm done with this shit. I'm moving on. Well, first thing is forget everything. Everything that does not serve you. When you look at your life, if there's not a heaping amount of money flowing into your bank account or already in your bank account, you know, that means that something needs to change. That means that something you're doing is conflicting with the idea of having financial abundance and financial prosperity. And another thing I want to tell you, because this is something I struggle with, and I just want you to know, especially if you think it's bad to want and to desire money, think again. It's not. It's not. So many people in my life attempted to tell me that it was bad to desire and want money. And so now that I know better, I'm going to share what I know with you, right? Look at your life without money, right? And everything you're doing, such and such, yada, yada, yada. And now all of a sudden, I just handed you a $500,000 check. Now look at your life with money, right? Now, unless you are an absolutely terrible person, life with money is going to be terrible for you. But if you are a genuinely good person, which I know you are because you wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you weren't, your life is going to get better. Your life is going to improve in such a way where you're going to have more happiness. You're going to have more joy because you can create experiences for yourself that help you to enjoy your life so much more, right? And that's what it does. So another thing is, and what I've been dealing with lately, and I want to get into this real quick because this is important, but I'll just tell you real quick first. God created man, man created money. Why would anything that God creates, because God is man, why would anything he creates be a bad thing? Why would it be bad? Right? It's because the truth is it's not bad. It's neutral, right? It's neutral. It ain't bad until we do something to make it bad, right? Like if you use your money to go buy some guns and then you shoot up somebody, like, you're the bad person, not the money. The money's never the bad entity here, right? It's neutral, just like God. It is neutral, right? So here's what I started to get into. And I feel like this has freed up so much for me, and I think it'll free up for you as well. The way that you're supposed to optimize your life and work in a way that is truly exciting and amazing for you is you have to ensure that your mind, your body, and your soul are aligned. Soul, aka heart, body, your mind, your connection to the divine mind, all those have to be aligned, right? And so in that, there's this thing called the ego. And coming from a spiritual background, and I'm not talking about like religious, I'm talking about spiritual, it's amazing how many people trash the ego. And I was one of them because I didn't know any better. I didn't follow Bruce Lee's wisdom of figuring out the truth for yourself. Well, you know what? Recently, I started to think to myself, man, I used to be so creative. I used to be able to do so many different wonderful things and like write music and write scripts and all this other stuff. But I feel like I'm slacking off. I wonder why. Then just like a lightning rod, you've casted your ego as something bad. Why would something God created to help you be bad? Why would God create anything that would make you bad? Right? Why would God create anything that was meant to harm you? It's not possible if he is pure, unfiltered, infallible love. It's just not possible. So all of a sudden, here's everybody. I'm talking about spiritual gurus, people that are sitting in front of like 5,000 people saying your ego is bad, your mind is bad. So then I started thinking about from a standpoint of money, what's really going to happen if you believe that your mind is bad, your ego is bad? Guess what? This shit's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for you at all. If anything, it's going to sabotage you or just lie dormant because you're denying, you're casting like misaligned emotions on something that is here to help you. Your ego is here to help you. Why would God create something in us that was bad for us? Think about that. That's one of probably the worst conditions that a lot of spiritual people have, is because every 1 to 4 videos on YouTube, somebody is talking about you've got to relinquish the ego. And I tell you, because I'm preaching to the choir, because I was one of those individuals that felt that way, And so, but I realized it hit me like a lightning rod, straight up truth. Why would God give you something that was bad? Right? And then you all of a sudden you're like, whoa, okay. I'm like, and then you know what I did? Right then and there, I got back to like, really working out my mind to make sure it's in alignment with my heart, my soul, and my body. And guess what? All this stuff started to happen. All this stuff started to manifest out of the blue because my mind was on board with my spirit, my soul, and my body. And it was just that simple, but that conditioning, right? That's a perfect example of conditioning, the conditioning or belief that the ego is bad, that the mind is bad, that you can't use the mind. That was holding me back from realizing money, especially. Like money flowed in such an amazing way and so fast. Once I figured out, okay, I need my mind to really be able to work this process through, right? So take a look at your own life, okay? Take a look at your own life. What do you see? What do you see in your own life that is, how do I put it? What type of condition do you see there that's not working for you, right? Because I'm gonna give you the solution right now. This is all you got to do. Make source the highest priority, no matter what. Make source the highest priority. The source in you, the God in you, the goddess in you. Make that the highest priority. Have so much faith, infallible faith in your source, and don't think about anything else, right? Don't think about anything else. From there, you'll pray for whatever it is that you desire that comes from that place of truth. You'll pray for whatever it is that you desire, and you're going to consistently pray. You're going to pray ceaselessly, as Jesus once said. And then you're just going to allow. You're going to forget everything that hadn't worked for you up to this point, all this faulty third dimensional bullcrap that is holding you back as opposed to helping you to evolve. You're going to get rid of that shit, right? And I promise you, if you make source first, pray ceaselessly for what you want, have the gratitude of knowing that your prayer is already answered, I promise you, money will not be the only thing that comes into your life. Every single thing you have will elevate to the highest degree possible, and you will be astonished at what is being done through you, right? I'm going to leave you with this, and then we're going to take off. Always know, every request, God always says yes. Every request, God always says yes. And here's why. It is God's desire to give to you, which is himself or herself. It is life's desire to give to itself, which is you. And it will do that as long as you're not using it to hurt yourself or hurt anybody else. It will give you whatever you ask. The limitations, all you got to do is get them out of your way. Get the limitations out of your way. Know that they don't exist, right? Know that they don't exist. All that exists is you as pure divine potential. Know that anything is possible. And whatever it is that you choose to try and manifest, whether it be money or anything else, don't think about manifesting it in the way that you have in the past. Be open to the infinite path that the divine has for you. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. It has been a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. Bye-bye.